Hello, everyone. Welcome on back. It's a new week. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show with our friends at Bet Rivers. Talking to friends, he's back. He's my good pal. It's our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It's Sean Calvert. Sean, you was scheduled to do a little bit late earlier today, but no football for the boy.
Yeah, his match has been called off. It's not right, is it? When I was a lad, I'd play in.
Here we go.
I'd play in anything, rain, snow, whatever. Now, I mean, you can't see outside here, but it's not raining. It was yesterday, but they've called the match off because the pitch is apparently too wet. I don't know what they're expecting in like January, February, but these days they're so unbelievably careful. If there's a slight problem with the pitch, that they just call the match off. So Lagan's very annoyed about that. He spent yesterday yelling at the opposition fans at Ipswich Town. I took him up to Ipswich Town yesterday against West Brom. He absolutely loved it. But now he's sour because there's no match on today, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's character building, isn't it? Put them out in the rain, get drenched.
They train in the rain.
At the door like that. I'm freezing.
They trained in the rain. I mean, Lagan didn't because he was at Ipswich yesterday, but the rest of the team trained. They had to move pitches to do it, but they still did it. And the weather was worse yesterday than it was today. So now the weather is better, they're not playing. It doesn't make any sense. It's health and safety gone mad is what it is.
Well, we're coming to you a little bit earlier today because we're trying to get the show over to you before the big match of the evening. It's the Super Bowl, obviously stateside. It's the Kansas City Chiefs up against the San Francisco 49ers.
Taylor Swift will be... You're not going to ask me for a pick, are you?
Sorry?
You're not going to ask me for a pick on this, are you?
I would like if I put three people in like an identity parade and you had to spot Taylor Swift, would you better do it?
Taylor Swift.
yeah, Taylor Swift, probably the most famous woman in the world.
I know who she is, but I couldn't name you any of her records, and I don't really know what she looks like.
Shake it up, oh, shake it up.
Is that one of hers? Is that such a bad impression that I can't get it? Or...
No, that's one of her songs. But would you know? Would you recognise?
If you showed me three pictures, I might of women that look sort of ish like her. Maybe I don't know. I doubt it, to be honest. No. Well, I know what Britney Spears looks like, but that's probably
you remember what she looked like 20 years ago.
I wouldn't know what she looks like. You wouldn't know what she looks like now. Honestly, I don't know anything about Taylor Swift.
No,
sorry, I don't.
Well, good job. We don't want to know
Super Bowl anyway. By
Sorry?
the way,
what's she doing there?
You mentioned Super Bowl, then you moved on to Taylor Swift. So what's the connection?
She's going out with one of the players for the Kansas City Chiefs, Kelsey.
Is that right?
Jannik Kelsey. I can't remember his name, but we're showing now. But they reckon the Bet Rivers taking bets whether he's going to propose to her after the match. That's a very popular prop.
Is it?
Yeah.
The last American footballer I've heard of was probably Dan Marino in about 1986.
Very famous for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. That's how I remember him.
He was in that, wasn't he?
He lost the Dolphins. But anyway, the other thing I was going to say to you, Usher is the halftime act. You into Usher?
Okay. I remember Usher from 20 years ago, something like that. He can't still be doing that same stuff, can he?
Oh yeah, he's dancing around.
He must be like 40 odd by now.
Yeah, I went to see Usher in Las Vegas, and he does a whole sketch on. I think he'd probably do it at the Super Bowl. He comes on rollerblades. Did you ever do any rollerblading?
Funny you should say that. Actually, I did actually do roller skating with Lagan about a month or so ago. Never done it before.
Were you any good?
I was all right. I mean, I wasn't brilliant, but I was able to kind of get round and sort of move. I was going pretty slowly, but I was able to get round and do it. Yeah.
I'm absolutely useless at anything like that. Useless.
I can do it, but it's not impressive. I can just about hold my own without falling over. I didn't fall over once actually, so I'm all right. I've got pretty good balance actually, so stuff like that I can do, but not to any decent level. Very, very mediocre.
We went ice skating once, and I just walked around the side of the ice skates, holding the wall
do that,
like
yeah.
this.
Well, what's the point?
And going like moving like that for a half hour, and I just could have just saved myself 20 quid. Walk around the front room of the house, just touching the wall.
Just go to the bar, have a drink, watch everybody else if you're going to do that. That's just annoying because when people are trying to, stop and they're trying to get to the side, there's you kind of
Yeah.
edging your way around.
And I'm pushing one of those things as you get further and further
Oh, my
away.
days.
I'm absolutely terrible.
You must
Anyway,
be better
enough
than that.
about our ice skating and our Super Bowl predictions. It's all about tennis for us, isn't it, here on Game Bet Match? And obviously, this week's another bumper week of tennis action. There's 3 tournaments on the ATP Tour. We've got a tournament in Rotterdam, a decent 500 event. We've got a tournament in Delray Beach, which is always a very popular one for American bettors and American players. And we have a final one in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Unfortunately, the time of recording, we only have outright prices on 2 or tournament winner prices on 2 of the tournaments. So we've got Rotterdam and Delray Beach. Later on today, head to the BetRiz website, and I'm sure you'll see some outright prices on Buenos Aires. So we've got a few matches to talk about as well. So let's start off with the tournament in Rotterdam. And as I said, it's not a bad little 500 event here. If you look at the seedings, there's 8 players seeded. No buys them. They've got to go straight in at round 1. And it's number 1 seed is the Australian Open champion, Jannik Sinner, who is making his reappearance since he won the title in Melbourne. The number 2 seed is Andre Rublev. Number 3 seed we have is Holger Rune. All kinds of struggles for him. Herbert Hurkacz, our friend, is number 4 seed. 5 seed we have is Alex de Minaur. 6, Gregor Dimitrov. 7, Ugo Humbert is in action in the final today in Marseille. And number 8 seed, Alexander Bublik. If the tournament went to seedings, it would be Sinner against Bublik in the quarterfinals, Hurkacz against Humbert, Dimitrov against Rune, and de Minaur against Rublev. Before we look at that draw, break down the draw, look at the outright markets, conditions here in Rotterdam. Did you go to Rotterdam last year? You went, didn't you?
Yeah, remember I had the gloves on with them trying to get about the merch.
Oh, yes.
They didn't have any merch.
Yeah, you sent a few emails of complaint, I think, from that one.
I got the marketing woman down to explain why she didn't have any ABN AMRO Open T-shirts or anything like that. They had about 2 or 3 towels. That was it. If you remember the conversation, I brought her down and she said she was insisting that they had T-shirts, and I went, "Well, show me." And she took me to the stand, and she was like, "Oh, there aren't any." And I said, "Well, yeah, I've told you this. There aren't any." And there was a couple. She goes, "There's towels." I said, "Well, with all due respect, that's not proper merch.
Not a T-shirt, is it? It's a towel.
She said she was going to make it. She said, "Oh, we'll make sure they have some next year." So if you're going to the ABN AMRO Open, any of you that's listening, get yourself down to that merch stand. If they haven't got merch, get her down from her little ivory tower and ask her where the merch is.
You weren't happy, were you?
Is that what you asked me about?
No, you weren't happy about it, were you? About the
well, I wasn't. No, because all the ball kids and everybody, there was about 400 kids running around with ABN AMRO T-shirts on, but none for the paying public. It's a disgrace. Well, but there you go. Well, I'm not one to complain, but
no, I would have just accepted it and gone on and gone to the bar and had a Heineken or something over there. But anyway, was it a good tournament? Is it quick? Is it nice? I know we got no merch, but how are we going to benefit from your insights last year on how we're going to make money this year?
But the problem is they change the speed of the courts every year, don't they, with these indoor surfaces? Even Dallas last week, that looked a lot slower this year than it was last year. They keep tweaking it, and generally they tweak it to the slower side, but it's a ProFlex indoor hard court here. The main court's usually pretty slow. The outdoor ones for me tend to look a little outdoor. The outside ones, which is about a 5-minute walk across the other side of the arena, they tend to be a bit quicker. But they use these slow Technifiber balls here. I'm not keen on these at all. They're very they fluff up pretty quickly. They're kind of dead. If you look at the last 3 years statistics here, just 79% holds of serve, 71.8% first serve points won. That's pretty slow. 41% of the matches feature a tiebreak. Yeah, that's okay. It tends to be another one of those indoor surfaces where if you've got a big serve, that's going to be pretty crucial. But in the rallies, it just looks really slow. Again, they could change it. They're quite possibly they may have changed it this year. I don't know, but certainly not one of the quicker tournaments in the last sort of 3 or 4 years. Anyway, as far as underdog winners are concerned, 34% of the underdogs win. It's kind of around about average, and that's spread evenly throughout the round. So no real round bias in terms of when the underdog winners occur. As far as overs unders are concerned, 22.5 games, 51% of the matches have gone over. So very, very slight trend towards the over in the last 5 years.
If we look at the previous winners here, Medvedev won it in 2023, Felix Auger-Aliassime in 2022, Rublev in 21, Gael Monfils won it back-to-back in 2020 and 2019, and a certain Roger Federer won it in 2018. So It has been won by players at the top of their game or players who are, usually high in their betting order there.
Well,
Let's
Federer's
have a
the
look.
only top seed. Sorry, mate. Federer's the only top seed to have won the title here actually since 2011.
Right. But Medvedev would have been high in the betting, though, wouldn't he? I mean, Felix,
Oh yeah, high in the
that time,
betting.
Felix,
Yeah.
So Felix at the time.
Yeah.
So the number one seed is Jannik Sinner, and he's a very, very low favourite, heavy favourite with Bet Rivers. Not surprisingly, really, Sinner is a plus 125 chance to win this. Before we come on to the Sinner's chances, plus 650 for Rublev. Her cash is 9. Dimitrov is 10. Alex de Minaur is 12. Holger Rune is having all kinds of struggles without a coach. At the moment, he sacked a lot of his team. He's 12-1. Hugo Humbert is in the final in Marseille this afternoon against Dimitrov. He's 14. Felix Auger-Aliassime at 22-1. Korda 22-1. Safiullin 25. Bublik at 28-1. I thought that was quite a big price for the number 8 seed. Coric at 33 and Ruusuvuori at 33 as well. Sinner, I mean, first tournament back, such a big high of winning the Australian Open. He's gone to see the Prime Minister of Italy. He's on every single chat show in Italy. He's now got the pressure of not only to himself, but a nation expects now for him to do well. Is he, what do you see in his character? Do you think he's someone who might thrive on that? Or do you think he might find it a little, because he's quite a quiet character. He might just be a bit daunting for him. Plus 125 here.
It might be.
I was going to expect him to just turn up and win it.
Yeah, well, the number one seed has lost in round 1 or round 2 in 3 of the last 4 years here. So not a great trends as far as the number one seed is concerned. But, you're guessing, aren't you? Is he going to thrive on it? Maybe. Seems to me like it's a lot of pressure for a young guy. Now, he's now expected to win this tournament, isn't he? He got to the final last year. He lost to Medvedev, didn't he? He wasn't expected to win it last year. Now he is. He's a hot favourite, isn't he? So... We'll see how he gets on. I mean, as you said, all this stuff's new to him, wasn't it? He's now the media darling. I mean, he was pretty much the media darling anyway, but now it's another level, isn't it? We'll just have to see how he goes. I mean, I certainly wouldn't back him at that price. He's way too short. It's a come down, isn't it? It's back to work for him almost now, isn't it? He's won the title that he wanted to win. He's done all the after stuff that you just talked about, and now it's back to the ATP tour, and he's got to start again from scratch. It's not easy to do. He may do it, but backing him at that price. Just a couple more trends on up for this tournament. 6 of the last 7 champions, as you said, have been single figure odds, but there have been quite a few big price finalists over the years, and a qualifier has made the semi-finals here in 4 of the last 7 years, so don't discount the qualifiers. But Sinner, for me, if you're asking me about would I back him at that price, no, definitely not.
I'm sure he will be very heavily supported because of the nature of his name, and he's the champion, and a lot of people will come in. But there's some really big tennis tournaments coming up. You've got Dubai, you've got Indian Wells, you've got Miami as well, where Sinner will prioritise those ahead of this tournament. It might be a little come along, tune your gaming, get back to winning ways, and sort of highlight, focus on what's coming up. So I agree with you. I think plus 125, he should be the favourite. He's the number 1 seed. He is the defender. He's the Australian Open current champion. But just a little bit bigger than even money. That does seem not any value at all. He first up, he faced Van der Sandschip, and then in the second round, he could possibly play Gael Monfils, who's not in the best of form, but he's a 2-times winner here. And we've spoken about the Frenchman before. He likes to raise his game against big players, and there's no bigger player in the world at the moment than Jannik Sinner.
He got kicked out of the UTS a couple of days ago.
I saw that. Yeah, he was. I saw his tweet making a complaint. I didn't really actually understand what happened
backstage. And somebody, as a result of whatever horseplay they were doing, one of the I think it was the tournament director or something like that, the supervisor or something, he got injured somehow during this frolicking that was going on backstage, and for some reason they decided the best course of events would be to disqualify Monfils from playing, which is a bit weird since it's an exhibition. I can sort of get it if it was a proper professional tournament with certain rules and regulations, but whoever gets disqualified from an exhibition, it's something a bit strange going on. I doubt he's done anything malicious. He's not that kind of guy, but something odd has gone on, and somehow this guy's got hurt, and they've found a way to recompense it by getting rid of him and then bringing in Luca Puig. All very strange. Yeah,
his tweets, he was very apologetic, and he obviously something went on there a little bit. Frank that went a little bit too far, but he didn't participate in that tournament. But he has participated here, and he is a 2-times winner and scheduled to play Sinner. Yeah, scheduled to play Sinner in the round 16. So if Sinner isn't any value, Sean, where do we look? I mean, are we looking at the bottom half to oppose him in an each way sort of angle, or are we looking at someone in the top half who could potentially beat him before we even get to that stage and get the Italian eliminated before he reaches the final.
I'm going for that most rare of specimens here, a Dutch player that isn't afraid of playing in the Netherlands. And that man is 50-1 shot Talon Griekspoor. I think he's a really good each way bet here. Over the years, many people that have watched tennis and watched Dutch players play tennis, they've not been. I'm talking about the men's side. I couldn't say about the women's, but they've really, really struggled playing here, particularly, and at home generally. But Griekspoor doesn't appear to be that way at all. Quite the opposite. He's won 11 of his last 12 matches in the Netherlands as Griekspoor. Won the title on the grass in Rosmalen last summer. Now, the only loss in those 12 matches was here in the semi-finals last year against Sinner, 7-5, 7-6. So he lost a tight one to Sinner. That's the only match he's lost. I think that includes Davis Cup and everything else, playing in his homeland. So it's very rare to find a player that is motivated to go well rather than being terrified of it. As I said, we'll see how Sinner responds to being the overwhelming favourite. But for me, Griekspoor, 50-1. He's the most motivated here. This is, as you said, it's a kind of a strange time of the season, isn't it? It's before Indian Wells and Miami, after the Australian Open. It's a bit of an in-between. And when we've had this tournament in years gone by, we've had a couple of 2, maybe 3 or 4 really strong top seeds. I don't think that's the case this time. Sinner, I say there's doubts about him. We'll have to see how he responds. And Rublev, not the most consistent guy. And something you wouldn't fear. You wouldn't go, Rublev's in the bottom half. I better avoid that. It's. I think I backed him here last year. He lost to Diminor in the first match, didn't he? Pretty sure that's what happened. So I'm more than happy to take a guy who is hugely motivated this week, and that, as I say, that man's Griekspoor 50-1. I think is decent.
He starts off against Lorenzo Musetti on a quick court. He shouldn't really have. Well, hopefully not have too many problems there. And then in the second round, this is where it might get a little bit more difficult. Should be up against Hubert Hurkacz, the number 4
He's got a
seed.
poor record here, Hurkacz. Don't think he's ever won back-to-back matches in Rotterdam.
So, Griekspoor at 50-1 in the top half of the draw. Have you cast your eye on the bottom half? Because the bottom half, to me, just Holger Rune. I mean, massive question marks about him. He's 12-1 to win his tournament. If it was last year, he'd probably be 5-1.
Tempted with Safiullin, I was in the bottom half. Tempted with Roman Safiullin. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he was the one that I was considering at sort of 25-ish to 1, but we want a slightly bigger price, and I do prefer the odds on Griekspoor. And as I said, I don't want to have too many bets in February. You can go mad and then end up kind of struggling. Yeah,
I think in that bottom half of the draw, there's a lot of question marks, a lot of players. Obviously, Dimitrov is in the final, so in Marseille, so he could be questionable. Rune, we all know the problems he has, and he plays Safiullin in round 1, so we're going to come on to that match in a minute. Diminuar is up against Korda, so that's a difficult match to start with there. And Rublev as well in the second round. Potentially could play Felix Auger-Aliassime. Felix has actually won this tournament as well. I quite like him this week. I think Felix is going to have a big tournament. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks. I just see signs that he's getting back to some kind of form again. And I think at a big price, you're going to get a good run for your money for Felix.
What price is he?
He's only 22-1. I'd want a little bit more than that. But yeah, I think at a tournament,
it's possible. Indoor is his best conditions, clearly.
I think, and we saw at the end of not last season, the season before, how well he ended the year, the campaign. And we were talking about potentially, I was talking about potentially winning the Australian Open. And then look how quickly it all changed for him last year. So he's a talent player. But the pick from us in Rotterdam is the Dutchman, Griekspoor at 50-1 in the top half. We believe that Jannik Sinner plus 125. We know he's going to be a bad result for Bet Rivers. We know that you will bet him, but we think at plus 125, he doesn't represent any value. And that's what we're here to do, highlight some value. Before we move on to the next tournament, we've got some matches here in Rotterdam. How are you feeling, Sean? Because last time we spoke, you were a bit under the weather, mate.
Yeah, the sore throat lasted about 5-6 days. It's just gone off a bit yesterday. So it's all that's happened though is it's moved on to the chest now. So I don't know what this virus is, but it's gone from the throat. Now the chest's all dodgy. So I'm all right, better than last week, but not 100%. Let's say that.
Well, we appreciate you coming on here this morning, on Sunday morning. You're a trooper for the cause. Let's look at So let's have a look at the 4 matches you've highlighted here in Rotterdam, and they all look quite nice matches, actually. Nice, very sort of even betting matches. Not many heavy favourites. You know, you don't usually see this in the first round of any tournament, especially in the 500 event. So these are really good matches to actually get involved in. And the first match we're going to look at is Bublik, the number 8 seed, against Coric. They met in the final of Montpellier, and Bublik won in a tight one, 5-7, 6-2, 6-3, only a couple of weeks ago. Prior to that, they met in Halle as well, and Bublik won that as well. So he's 2-0 up on the head-to-heads yet. He's a small favourite here, -124. Coric is even money. The spread is 1.5. Coric receiving 1.5 is -130. Bublik +102. And the total here is 22.5 with over -122 and under -104. Bet Rivers have 28 different markets available on this match. And if you do place a bet on this match or any match on the Bet Rivers website, you'll be able to watch live and bet live. You'll be able to live stream the match on your your tablet or your laptop or any device you wish to use. My first reaction here is that, you know, Bublik has obviously beat him last time, but it was a very close match. And I think it could be close again. I looking at this match, I didn't know which way you were going to go here, but I thought potentially overs on the games or maybe look at sort of the first set overs. I think that this might be especially a tight opener.
Well, when I wrote this, Bublik was underdog. You know, the odds have changed overnight since I started writing about this one. So I was initially going to go with Bublik. I mean, it's a bad matchup for Borna Coric, as most matches are against big servers. He's not a player that enjoys playing big servers at all. The two times they've met, Bublik and Coric, the service points won and return points won totals 113 to 87 in favour of Bublik. He won pretty easy, didn't he, Bublik, in that Montpellier final? Once he dropped the first set, which he did the record, didn't he, in Montpellier? He's the only player to have won a tournament having lost the first set in every single match. And he did it again in the final, obviously, against Coric. Started poorly and ended up winning pretty comfortably. You know, Bublik's held serve 91% of the time against Coric in this matchup. And Coric has only held serve himself 64% of the time. So it's been a matchup that's been painful for him. If we look slightly further into it, in terms of his performance against big servers, Borna Coric, he's 8-15 win-loss against the ones in my database. He's only broken serve 10% of the time in those matches, winning a measly 29% of return points. So he's really struggled against the guys that can bang it down. And my only concern with Bublik is, one of my concerns with Bublik is the fact that he's coming from that UTS in Oslo as well. He doesn't have a particularly good record here. He's barely won a match here, Bublik. You feel like it wouldn't be a surprise if he put in one of his horrible ones, which is the concern. But if you can set aside those concerns, I'd certainly be looking to back Bublik, perhaps in play. It wouldn't surprise me if he started slowly again, and then you got a slight bit of plus money on Bublik. I'd perhaps go for that, unless you watch it and think he's just going to tank this one, which is also possible with Bublik, as we know. I certainly couldn't back Coric in this at all. It's not a good matchup for him, or it hasn't been.
And if you are going to place a wager on this match, make sure you're up nice and early. You're going to have a late night with the Super Bowl, but you're going to get up nice and early. 5 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, this match starts because it's European-based over in Rotterdam. So you need to be up nice and early to make sure you bet the bets on, or do it now. Do it before the American football action this evening and have a bet and make sure you take the price on Bublik there plus -124. At the current price, though, Sean, not an official play, I'm guessing.
No, I wouldn't. I think there are better options around in today's show than that, to be honest. But I would be tempted at evens or slight plus money.
The next match we are going to move on to, hopefully some better options there. We're going to have Alejandro Davidovich Fokina up against Leonard Struff. Davidovich Fokina is the favourite here at -124. This is another one where the market is sort of moving quite heavily as well. Leonard Struff is plus 100, so even money for Leonard Struff. Fokina -1.5 is +102 on the spread. Struff +1.5 is -130, and the total here is 22.5 again, with over -117. Now, there's been money for Davidovich Fokina this morning. There's been a bit of a move from last night. When you look at his indoor record, I was quite surprised by that. I know he's 2-1 this year from what he's done so far, but prior to that, he only won 2 matches in 2023 indoors, and in 2022, he lost all of his 6 matches. What do you think about this one? I'm quite surprised that the move has been quite heavy for Davidovich Fokina. I mean, we know Struff has a lot of injury problems, and I don't know if that's any sort of concern for that move. But there has been a lot of money for the Spaniard in the last couple of hours.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that. It's not based on any indoor statistics. It might be based on what people think they know about Struff. Maybe he has had a lot of injury problems, as you said, in recent times. He hasn't got a particularly good record in Rotterdam either. Struff, actually, he's 2-7 win-loss, which is I found quite surprising because the conditions you would have thought would favour him. I should imagine this match we played on one of the outside courts, which will be quicker, which you would think would favour Struff. I think this is a reasonable spot to get with Struff, really. I'm slightly concerned now. You said the money come for Davidovich, but if you look at what both of these guys have done, last 20 matches at main level and indoor hard, Davidovich Fokina, 39% win rate, and the service points won, return points won, total of 97. Struff, some way better, 45% win rate and a total of 100. So on the indoor hard data over the last couple of years, that is, and that, you know, in that time frame, Struff has struggled a lot with injuries as well, but he's still got a considerably better record than Davidovich Fokina. The service hold and break totals, again, it favours Struff, 96-93. Not seeing where this move's coming from for Davidovich, unless it is yet another Struff injury. I would be tempted with, I mean, Struff is normally a very strong starter. If you don't want to back him to win the match, back him to win the first set. I can't see where this money's coming from for Davidovich. It's not based on any indoor hardcourt form, that's for sure.
No, if you want to bet Struff to win the opening set, we've got a price there. I'm just trying to find it for you here. Set one, Leonard Struff is -104 to win set one. Davidovich Fokina is -120.
Or just to win the match. I mean, those are the two I'd be looking at, certainly. I couldn't back Davidovich at that price. That's I can say that with certainty.
Well, I was looking at his indoor record, thinking we've got to oppose him, and then just seeing the money, and if he's playing any other player, I would think, well, but Struff, it's just the injury concern. That would be my only fear on this one. So, again, is it a lean towards Struff with that move?
Yeah, it's a lean towards Struff. Yeah, the stronger one's coming up in a minute.
Okay, let's move on to the next match, and this is an interesting one. I looked at this match here and I was very, very intrigued by it. Hugo Humbert, the big serving left-handed Frenchman up against Emil Ruusuvuori. Ruusuvuori leads 4-0 in the head-to-head record between these two. Yeah, he's the underdog. He's even money here. The handicap or the spread is 1.5. Ruusuvuori receiving 1.5 is -132. Humbert +104, and the total is 22.5 with over -124 and under -103. There's a couple of things that when you look at tennis betting, someone who goes deep the week before, it's Humbert in his home tournament in Marseille. You think to yourself, has he gone all in to win that tournament in front of his support? Then he's got to play Ruusuvuori in Rotterdam and then the head-to-head. So I'm loving this Ruusuvuori price here at even money.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about Ruusuvuori here, isn't there? I don't think Humbert's going to fancy this at all after the efforts of Marseille. He's not, at the time we're speaking, he's not played the final yet, has he, against Dimitrov? He's got to go through that. That's going to be another tough match. Let's say he loses that, or even if he wins that, he's now got to go from Marseille to Rotterdam in a very short period of time to very different conditions. He's never won a match here, Humbert. He's only played 2, but he's lost both of them. It just feels like it's a come down for him, whatever happens. You know, if he wins the title in Marseille, this is going to be a bit of an after the Lord Mayor show. If he loses, he's going to be on a bit of a down, and then he thinks, oh, God, I've got to go to, not only have I got to go to Rotterdam, but I've got to play Ruusuvuori again.
And he might bump into that woman with the T-shirts as well along the way. He might bump into that merch woman, mightn't he, as well?
She won't be showing her face again after last year.
Doesn't want to see her either, does
She's been sacked, hopefully. I mean, coming in with this towels business, I'm not having that. I'm almost tempted to go back to Rotterdam, see if she's still there and they've got any merch, but a spite trip, it seems a bit excessive, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, the head-to-head is heavily in favour of Ruusuvuori. 3 of the matches were on clay, which you wouldn't have thought would favour either player, actually. Both of them would prefer a quicker, lower bouncing surface, but and the other one was on grass, which Ruusuvuori should have won very easily, actually. It was in Rosmalen last summer. I think he was somewhat like 6-2, 5-2 up or something like that, and managed to almost choked his way out of the entire thing, and he ended up winning it in a tight third set in the end, but he should have won that easy as well. The service points won and return points won totals 105-95. Ruusuvuori 5% better on serve, 5% better on return in the matchup so far. And the key stat on this one is that Ruusuvuori, not only does he love playing Humbert, he loves playing left-handers in general. He's won 22 of his last 25 matches against left-handers as Ruusuvuori. And the 3 losses were against Nadal, Draper, and Mannarino. So his record against left-handers is absolutely outstanding. It's not just Humbert that he enjoys playing, it's all the others as well. So he did look a bit tired, actually. We backed him last week, didn't we, Ruusuvuori? He started off pretty well, and then he put in a bad one against Davidovich. He was awful against Davidovich in the second round or a second match. Maybe a bit of fatigue after Davis Cup, but now it's going to be Humbert that's surely going to be the one that's more fatigued, and I think you have to take Ruusuvuori at these odds.
I think it's going to be a classic one here where they flip-flop favourites. I think it'd be Ruusuvuori starts at -122 and Humbert starts at evens. There is a slight chance, though, that Humbert might pull out of the tournament. Slightly, potentially.
He might, but I don't think he's due to play next week. I don't think he's down to play any tournament of the 3 next week. So I doubt he'd pull out. He might put it. The ideal scenario is he turns up and he puts in a bit of a weak one. You would imagine if he loses the first set, you could see the toys coming out the pram. It could be all over for him pretty quickly. That's the ideal scenario for me here. But I think you have to take this price.
Yeah, I really do like this, and that I'm sure that is an official pick. Ruusuvuori even money. Yeah, Ruusuvuori even money to beat Hugo Humbert. What a brilliant record against left-handers! A brilliant record against the Frenchman. The Frenchman in the tournament in his hometown in Marseille. So lot to like about Ruusuvuori there. A lot not to like at the moment about Holger Rune. The guy's having a bit of a meltdown at the moment. It's sort of quite all crashing around him. He's got rid of his coaching staff. Maurice Becker has gone. And now he plays Safiullin, a player he beat earlier in the year. But he's a -175 favourite here at the moment. And I just don't see any way anybody can have any confidence in Rune at -175. Safiullin is +138. The spread, 2.5. Safiullin receiving 2.5, -129. With Rune giving up 2.5 is even money. And the total here is 22.5. Holger Rune needs to sort his head out and sort his game out, because someone who's got an abundance of talent is having a bit of a meltdown.
I don't know what's going on with him, to be honest. I really don't. We spoke about it last week, didn't we? Excuse me, about the coaching situation. I think he's only got Kenneth Carlson left now, hasn't he? Well, as I speak today, this exact hour, he'll probably bring somebody else in. But he's another one who's playing the UTS in Oslo, isn't it, at the minute? So I don't know what's going on with him there at the moment. I've not really looked at the results. Not that it really makes any difference. They play a peculiar format there. Excuse me. So Rune beat Safiullin, as you said, in the Brisbane semi-finals, but Safiullin had a bad one. It was really, really windy that day, and he couldn't serve very well at all, Safiullin. So it was a bad one. I did quite like Safiullin to beat him that day, but the wind really kind of blew him off course, Safiullin. So indoors could be a better situation for him. If you look at what these two have done last 12 months at main level, excluding matches played on clay, it's Safiullin with the edge, 103 in terms of his service points won and return points won total, compared to 100 for Holger Rune. So decent advantage there for Roman Safiullin. Saflin's not played either since he lost a match he should have won against, I think it was Griekspoor in the Australian Open. He was 2 sets up in that. So he's likely to be fresher than Rune, who's had injury issues. He pulled out of his match against Coric, didn't he, in the semi-finals of Montpellier with an arm injury. But, a couple of days later, he went over to play UTS. So I'm not sure what... That's not a great feather in his cap, really, is it? Retiring from an ATP semi-final and then going over and playing for a couple of days in Oslo. That seems a bit strange to me. So statistically, Rune's got nothing really to kind of hang his hat on over the last 12 months away from the clay. I think this is a possible opportunity for Roman Safiullin. I just want what's the current price? I just want the odds to be a squeak bigger. He was 2.78 when they played in
+138. So it's around about
plus 138, so 2.38. Yeah, I want him to be over 2.5. Really, I don't know whether
I don't know if the market's going to go that way. I mean, there is such a negative towards Rune at the moment, and looking, I don't know. His price has been sort of heavily. Some books are down to -$2 Rune, so there may be it might be sensible to leave a little bit and hopefully get a little bit better, but we might not get that.
Yeah,
I think
I
150
think
may be the highest you might get here.
yeah. If you can get plus 150, then I'd say that's potentially a bet. But it's just a squeak short. To say it was plus 178 when they played in Brisbane. Yeah, I just want a bigger price, but I'm tempted to back Safiullin. I just want bigger odds. It's as simple as that.
So wait and see the market. It's at the Bet Rivers website. As I said, 5 a.m. Early start tomorrow, Monday. I don't think this match will be on Monday. The order of play. We don't know the order of play yet, but they'll be split over a couple of days, maybe even 3 days. You'll check the order of play, but if you do it, if you do get involved in the early matches, it's a 5 a.m. start tomorrow. And we're not going to touch this if it's plus 150. So really, in Rotterdam, just the one pick, the pick on Safiullin, yeah? Oh, sorry, Ruusuvuori.
Yeah.
So Ruusuvuori is our bet, even money. I think that's an absolute cracking bet. I'm going to be heading across to wagering that straight away after this show. Let's move across to America, to Delray Beach in Florida, where we have a tournament here. It's a 250 event. It's a tournament that Taylor Fritz won. He came here as a kid with his father and watched this tournament many times, and he won the tournament. So it was quite an emotional speech when he won the tournament last year. He was very, very relieved to do it. But the American players aren't in some great form at the moment, Sean, and we're going to come on to them in a little bit. It's been dominated by the American players here. TFO's won it before, Pelka's won it before, and Taylor Fritz. But there are question marks about them. But before we go on to the draw, before we give you the latest betting in Florida, what's the conditions going to be like here? What's the weather and what's the course speeds?
Yeah, it's a kind of a medium slow, quite high bouncing plexi-pave outdoor hard court that they play on here. I think the main thing to mention is it does get pretty windy here at Delray Beach. It's obviously by the beach. It is open to the elements, and it does get pretty strong winds. It's set to be quite a windy week as well. Heat wise, it's perfectly fine. It's about 25 degrees, but it's the wind that you got to think about. Players that, if you think of players that go well in the wind, you'd certainly be looking at backing those here. It's not particularly quick. As I said, it averages 79% holds, 71% first serve points won in the last 3 years. Say kind of a high bouncing, medium slowish outdoor hard court. Only 35% of the matches have featured a tie break in the last 10 years, so not big for tie breaks. It's trend to the unders, in fact. Under 22.5 games has cashed 54% of the time in the last 5 years here at Delray Beach, and the average is 33% underdog winners, which is round about average.
Have a look at the draw. The top 4 seeds have received buys through to the second round, so the last 16, and those top 4 seeds are Taylor Fritz, number 1. In the bottom half, Francis TFO, number 2. Then Tommy Paul, number 3, and number 4, Adrian Menorino. And I thought it was a great market to be the top American at the end of the year, and I still think it's a brilliant market. I think Fritz is struggling. Tommy Paul's been through to the final. TFO absolutely struggling at the moment. Shelton not playing his best. I think the race to be the top American at the end of the year is a fascinating one. Giron coming through. You've got Mickelson coming through as well. Some players there who are going to challenge and do well. Taylor Fritz, obviously the defending champion. If he gets through to the quarterfinals, his seeded opponent will less likely to be Al Naldi. In the top half, Manorino will play Kekmanovic, and in the bottom half, it'll be Dan Evans up against Tommy Paul, Purcell up against TFO. But obviously, there's some dangerous floaters in that draw. If we look at the outright betting, Taylor Fritz is the favourite. He's plus 225. TFO is plus 550. Tommy Paul, who's in the final at the moment in, where was it? Dallas? Is it Dallas this week?
Yeah, Tommy Paul,
Dallas.
yeah.
Dallas. He's in the final there against Giron plus 550. Manorino is 10-1. Kekmanovic is 11. Thompson is 14-1. Giron, who's got to this final playing well, 14-1, but he's not going to have the draw, the buy in the first round. So he's going to come straight in the first round, 14-1. Mickelson at 16-1. Quite like the look of his chances there. Arnaldi at 18-1, and it's about 22-1 bar those players there. So 22-1 or bigger for the rest of them. What do you like here, Sean? What do you think of the draw? What do you think where the advantage lies? Any quarter you quite like, or any sort of fade?
Yeah, I think the bottom half is pretty open, really. You got Tommy Paul and TFO as the seeds. On paper they're quite strong, but TFO, I talked about him last week. He put in one really good performance in Dallas, and then another absolutely awful one against Giron. Just doesn't. I don't know. I can't really understand what's going on with him at the minute. The way he started Dallas, the first match he played, I can't remember who it was against, but he won it convincingly, and all that energy was there. And then the next match, Nothing. He was absolutely, that's awful, just terrible. So he's a definite fade. Tommy Paul's yet to play the final in Dallas. So he's had a strong week, a tough week. So he's potentially opposable as well. Changing conditions, coming from an indoor lake hold hard service in Dallas to here, outdoor high bouncing. It's not going to be an easy transition for him. So the bottom half of the draw here, I'd like the chances of Jerry Shang, as he's known. 22 to 1 he is. I think there's a case to be made for him. The other one potentially is Dan Evans as well. I think those two look like the two that could cause major problems in this bottom half of this draw.
TFO in round one played Mickelson in Dallas. That's where he had that big win. Played exceptionally well. Yeah,
and then he got absolutely thrashed by Giron, didn't he?
Yeah. And they look like they well, if it goes to, there's a possibility they can meet again in the semi-finals. But we're going for Evans here at 25 to 1 and Zhang. Tell us a little bit about Zhang. I mean, I'm not really too familiar about him.
Yeah, he's improving rapidly as Jerry Shang, and the level that he's shown so far this year and towards the end of last year, I think that's good enough to win a tournament like this. Assuming that he's fit, which is the major problem that's held him back so far in his career, he's certainly got the ability to win a 250. He beat Francis Tiafoe in straight sets in Hong Kong last month. His first match, Tiafoe's first match, will hopefully be against Shang. Shang's got a qualifier in round one. Then he'll play Tiafoe. And he'll be confident about that. Shang, he's beaten Tiafoe pretty comfortably. And the form that Tiafoe's in now, that's a match to look at and think that Shang's got definite underdog possibilities. He trains here in Florida, in Bradenton, Shang has done for years with Nishikori over at the IMG Academy. So he's very, very familiar with the conditions. He'll be very well prepared. So on the form that he showed in Hong Kong, he beat Van der Zandschulp, beat Jere, beat Tiafoe, lost a tight one in 3 sets to Andrei Rublev in the semi-finals. That form for me is good enough in conditions that he's very, very familiar with, as I said, in Florida. So I think there's a lot to like about his chances. He's the one I'm going to take as an official play. The other one to maybe think about is Dan Evans, but we'll talk about him in a minute.
Yep. 22 to 1 for Zhang. He's 19 years of age. He's based over in Florida. And he's up against Tiafoe if he gets through the qualifier, he plays Tiafoe in the second round. Tiafoe has a bye, and he's beaten him before. Tiafoe is the fade for us. And if the draw opens up...
Without Tiafoe, that Q4 looks really weak.
And he could be half the price of that very, very quickly. So Zhang is the man for us at 22 to 1. Talking about the match, we've got one match we're going to talk about Dan Evans, and you sort of touched on it there, Sean, that you quite like Dan Evans' chances to go deep in the tournament. I'm sure you're going to like him here to win this match. He's up against Jordan Thompson. He's a plus 123 outsider for this match, underdog. Thompson is minus 152, despite leading the Aussie 3-0 on the head-to-head. 2.5 is the handicap. Evans receives it, minus 132, plus 104 for Thompson, and the total is 22.5. I'm going to get you the time this match starts, but in the meantime, if you could just break us down this and why you like Evans. I think Evans looks a great bet, plus 123.
Yeah, I do like Dan Evans here. As I said, conditions are very windy here at Delray Beach, and I've always thought he's a very good player in the wind. He ticks a lot of boxes in these sort of conditions. Does Dan Evans? He moves well. He's very nimble about the court. Technically, he's very good. He's got a lot of variety and layers to his game. He's got the slice and all the different ways of playing it and come to the net if he wants to. All these things are very, very useful in the wind when the ball's not really going where you want it. It's moving around. It doesn't really suit the more rigid type of player, which for me Jordan Thompson is. And he's gone well here. He's only played here once before, Dan Evans. He made the final as a qualifier back in 2019. I think he lost to Radu Albot in the final that year. So he's a player that you want to be on when it's windy, as it is expected to be in Delray Beach. I presume that Dan's been here for a while. He's not played since the Australian Open. He's had a lot of injured problems recently, but I imagine he's been here for a little while. Thompson obviously hasn't, because he's just lost in the quarterfinals in Dallas. He's got to adapt now to very different conditions, and he's only got a couple of days to do it. And he's never shown any liking for this tournament, Jordan Thompson. He's 1-4 win-loss here at Delray Beach. I just feel like the conditions will favour Evans much more than Thompson, and Evans will have had a lot longer to get acclimatized to the Florida weather. And the head-to-head, which is 3-0 to Dan Evans, all on grass, which for me is Thompson's strongest surface. I'm not wild on Dan Evans on grass, to be honest. Thompson, reached a couple of finals on grass. That for me is his best conditions. And he's not won a set in 3 matches against Dan Evans. I just feel Evans can pick him apart, particularly if it's windy. Assuming that Dan's fit, the gamble here is he fit? Let's hope he is. If he is, that's a good price for me.
Yep, Dan Evans is available at, where's my outright price? What price? It's 16-1, was it? Dan Evans to win the tournament? This tournament?
We're just talking about the props for this match.
But for the tournament, I didn't mention, I think he's 16-1, but for the match here, he's plus 123. So I missed him off the list when we gave the runners and riders on the list. So he's 16-1, and that match starts, the action in Delray Beach starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So make sure you got a bit of time to look at the wages. We'll see the order of play, and hopefully Evans or Thompson was one of the early starts, and that plus 123 is still there. 3-0, he leads the head-to-head. We did say that we have another tournament, but unfortunately at the time of recording this, we haven't got any outright markets, and I know Sean hasn't looked at the draw here, but it is in Buenos Aires in Argentina, where Carlos Alcaraz is the defending champion and he's the number 1 seed. He's going to be a very, very heavy favourite, very similar to Jannik Sinner. He's in the top half of the draw. He's got a bias through to the last 16. The top 4 seeds all have a bias to the last 6. Nicholas Jarry is his likely opponent in the semi-final. In the bottom half, it's Serendula and Cam Norrie. You would expect Alcaraz to be, I think Alcaraz will be a heavy minus money favourite to win this tournament. And I think really you've got to look at it in the bottom half of the draw and potentially look at somebody who could surprise at a big price and take some value away from the market here, and maybe reach the final. And I know you haven't seen the draw yet, Sean, but I had a brief look at it, and the one player that sort of interested me was Alejandro Tabilo. I don't know what price he's going to be, but obviously the start of the year, he surprised everyone, didn't he, with his form in Auckland? He won the tournament.
150-1,
yeah. Yeah, won the tournament. He's won that tournament in quickish conditions. He went to the Australian Open and he was beaten in round 1, which didn't come as much of a surprise because he was absolutely exhausted.
He was shattered
within the tournament. And he played in 5 sets. He was 2 sets to 1 up and lost the final 2 sets. But I think if you look at Serendulu, I can't have at the moment. Cam Norrie, I think, I'm never a fan of Cam Norrie at these artificially low prices. Artur Fields is in there. I mean, Fils is going to be in there. I wouldn't fancy him. Sebastian Baez is into a final this week as well. So again, he's got to come to Buenos Aires. I know the Argentinian support there will be interesting. But I think Tabio, if we can get a nice price each way, I'm going to take the Chilean to get through to the final each way. But Sean will probably have a look at the draw, and if there's any thoughts, I'm sure he might.
I will on Tuesday's show, yeah.
Yeah, put it out on Tuesday. But my first reaction was Tabito. If he can show that hardcourt form on his favourite surface, I think he might come out as he's up to a career high in the rankings as well. Well, just inside the top 50. So I think he might go well for you at a big price. But we've definitely got to look each way away from Carlos Alcaraz in the top half of the draw. So that's been it for today.
Got a very strong record there.
Alexander
Dolgopolov in 2017 is the only unseeded winner since 2007, and the number 1 seed has made the semi-finals, at least the semi-finals every year since 2007. So it's not generally been a place to kind of find a big price winner. Very slow conditions in Buenos Aires, but we'll talk a bit more about that on Tuesday.
We're trying to just get a big price finalist. That's all we need. We need someone that bottom half to get.
I might be able to pick one. If Serendolo and Norrie are the 2 luminaries in the bottom half of the draw, then I think you've got a possibility. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is it. And you got Lajovic, Fils, Tabilo, Hanferman, Altmaier, Baez, who's going to be exhausted.
We'll have to check the weather because it's been insanely hot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In Argentina, that could be a fact. I've not looked at the weather yet.
Okay, we'll talk about that on Tuesday's show. Sean will be back on Tuesday, and we'll be back again on Wednesday as well, looking at the matches in all 3 of the tournaments, and we'll give you some updated outright prices on tournament winner prices from Bet Rivers when we can do that. Make sure you follow us on loads of our different content. I mean, you can follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on the YouTube channel. Betting Weekly Studios on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that. We've got some brilliant content on there. The Champions League football is back on Monday, so the American football season might be over, but the European soccer season is really lighting up with the Champions League there. So subscribe to Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. Download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider. And remember to follow us on our socials on Twitter and Instagram. There's going to be loads of giveaways on there with T-shirts. And make sure you will do lots of other stuff and exclusive content on the Instagram account. Sean, have a good remainder of your Sunday afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your time. If you are watching this before the Super Bowl, good luck with your bets this evening on the Super Bowl. And Sean, watch it. You might recognise Taylor Swift by the end of the week. We might know her by the end of the week if she comes to Leon C with her soon-to-be fiance.
Whoever he may be.
Take care, and all the best for your wages.